Good afternoon. My name is Crystal, and I'm going to spend a few minutes to talk to you about our clinical drug trial in ARVC called the Effects of Flecainide on Cardiac Arrhythmias in ARVC Patients. This is the first ever clinical drug trial in ARVC, so we're really excited about this opportunity. This is a multi-center NIH-sponsored study, so there are a couple different enrolling centers across the United States, Hopkins being one of them. And there, really are no known effective antiarrhythmic treatments for ARVC. As you compare to other patients, you'll notice that everybody's on a different cocktail. Nobody's on the same thing. And so, this is a really great opportunity to do a pilot study on a specific antiarrhythmic to prove that it is effective in ARVC patients. Many of you might already be taking Flecainide as part of your management. The purpose of this study is to assess the safety and effectiveness of an antiarrhythmic drug, specifically Flecainide, on arrhythmias in patients diagnosed with ARVC. Flecainide is an approved drug by the FDA already, and this will be a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled crossover study. So that's a lot of words, and what does all of that mean? And randomized basically means that by chance, you're going to be put into either the Flecainide arm or the placebo arm. Double-blinded means that we don't know which one you're on and you don't know which one you're on. And then placebo-controlled means that there will be a group who will take the sugar pill or an inactive substance. And crossover means that everybody gets to do every part of the arm. So if you start with Flecainide, you will then switch over to the placebo arm. And if you start with the placebo, you're going to switch over to Flecainide eventually in the study. We talked about how Flecainide is an antiarrhythmic medication approved by the FDA since 1982 to suppress cardiac arrhythmias. It is primarily used in those without a history of heart attack or a significantly reduced heart function. Some of the common side effects include dizziness, visual disturbances like double vision, headache, nausea, shortness of breath. And all of these, once Flecainide is discontinued, will go away. Who is eligible to participate? So you must be 18 years of age. You must meet task force criteria for ARVC. You must have an ICD in place and have remote monitoring capabilities. On a Holter monitor, you have to have at least 500 PVCs. Currently, you should be on a beta blocker. If not, that can be started. That's not a problem. And certain antiarrhythmics require a 5-day washout period with a repeat Holter. So if you're on Sotalol or some of the other antiarrhythmics, we're going to ask you to stop that for 5 days, and then we're going to repeat a Holter, make sure you still have 500 PVCs, and then you can start the trial. You also must sign the consent in person. Some of the exclusion criteria: if you are on amiodarone or dofetilide or have an LV, left ventricular ejection fraction of 40% or less, or have heart failure class 3 or 4, or a prior MI, you are not eligible to participate. However, this is really very few of you. Also, if you are pregnant or plan to get pregnant, you are not permitted to participate just because Flecainide's not really been tested in pregnancy. What is involved of you to participate in this study? So the participation really lasts for 10 weeks, and that's it. There are 2 4-week periods. First 4 weeks, you either get the study drug Flecainide or the placebo. And then there's a week period where you get nothing. You get like a week off. And then the second 4-week period, you then switch. So if you started with the study drug Flecainide, you then are given the placebo. If you started with placebo, you're then given the study drug Flecainide. At 2 time points in the study with each arm, we're going to arrange an in-home visit by a nurse. And they will do a study ECG, put on the Zeo patch, and collect a blood sample to assess for Flecainide levels. In addition, at 3 time points, you will be asked to submit an ICD interrogation remotely. And then you get to check in with me every week. I'm going to make sure you're taking your study medication, and we'll talk about any symptoms or side effects you might be having. The study drug is provided to you at no cost, as are the study monitoring tests, which include the ECG, the ZO patch, the remote interrogations, and the blood draw. Most of these are done by the home visit, with the exception of the remote interrogation, which you'll do remotely. If these fall outside of your normal ICD interrogation checks, then it's covered by the study. Very rarely do they all happen at the same time. So the study will cover that. Is the Flecainide drug trial for you? I think it's important to know that at any point in time, you can withdraw from the study. And if you think about it, is it for you? You know, the ideal candidate is someone obviously who meets the eligibility requirements, someone who's on a beta blocker, and maybe needs a little bit more to manage their arrhythmias. Or you might be someone who has tried other antiarrhythmics like sotalol, but there are too many side effects and you really want to try something else. And also that you're willing to travel to Baltimore to sign that consent form. How has COVID-19 impacted this trial? You know, as with pretty much everything in March, a lot of our clinical research was temporarily shut down, but we are now back up and running according to the original protocol. So we will require you to sign a consent form in person. We will, however, not do the in-home visits. We are planning to submit official amendments to the protocol that will no longer require the in-home visits, and that we will soon be able to offer remote consenting. You know, why is this study important to us? You know, as I mentioned before, this is the first ever clinical drug trial in ARVC patients, and this is a pilot study really showing the feasibility of enrollment in a rare condition. We need to prove that yes, we can run a clinical trial, and yes, we have patients who are willing and interested to participate. And that's really going to pave the way for future large clinical trials. Once we're able to do this pilot and prove that we can do it safely, and we have patients who are willing to participate. I'm going to talk a little bit about what goes into a drug trial, because it really is a complicated, laborious process. And I thought it was interesting that only 16 out of every 100 drugs that enter phase 1 will actually make it to FDA approval. So even before you get into, you know, the phase 1 clinical trials, you have all these preclinical studies, often done with animals, that are really looking to test the potential safety and efficacy. You know, if these are shown to be favorable, then there will be approval by the FDA to then be tested in humans. The phase 1 clinical trial usually consists of a small group of healthy volunteers, and that's going to assess the safety, the side effects, and the dosing. Phase 2 trial is going to involve more people, so 100 to 300 people, and the emphasis is going to be on the effectiveness. Is the drug doing what it's supposed to? And this process can take months to years. Phase 3 trial is where you're going to study different populations, different doses. It's going to be in a lot more people, so 300 to 3,000 people. And this is where, if things look favorable, safety is good, side effects are low, and it's effective, then this is where the FDA will give approval for use in the public. This process can take several years as well. And then phase 4, you know, the device or drug is approved for public use, and it's monitored in large, diverse populations for, again, safety, effectiveness, and side effects. And this occurs over several years. So even once a drug is approved, they're still monitoring for all the side effects and safety measures. So that is what we're up to. We're really excited that we're enrolling, patients in this Flecainide drug trial. We're looking forward to doing many more drug trials, obviously with your help and support. So if you're interested in learning more about this study, want to know if you're eligible, feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to go over your specific case. Thank you.